Greetings, world builders. Welcome to Worldbuilders Forge. We will be talking about building worlds so that we may take them over.
I'll have to make that the new intro.
This may well be the new intro. Yes. Hi, my name is Matthew Vanek of Worldbuilders Forge. I'm not a supervillain. Okay. We've gotten that out of the way. Jeffrey Ingram is here with me. Worldbuilders Forge was his brainchild. This is his idea. This is his baby. And I get to intro it today, which feels a little odd, but there we are. So, Jeffrey, tell me a little bit about yourself. What inspired Worldbuilders Forge, and what do you want to do with it?
Well, essentially, it was inspired by years of conversation with my friends who build worlds and who like to storytell. You, Dave, Nate. There are some other friends too. Obviously, Jim and would fit in. However, it's just years of discussion on these crazy made-up things that don't really exist that can take up hours of discussion, but also lead to real-world discussions at times too.
And tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name's Jeff. I, oddly enough, am a world builder. I come at it from a role-playing perspective. However, I'm branching out now more into doing videos and storytelling in other directions, trying to reach more people. I am perfectly sane, as you can tell by my profile picture down there. I'm not eating my cat. I'm not doing that. That would be wrong.
Yes.
That's what Kristen says.
Exactly.
But
his wife reminds him that it's wrong.
Yes. I mean, not that she needs to.
Right.
I don't think. But yes, that would be wrong. There's Moochie Pants, who's not with us today, but we could be visited by a cat at any moment. I do give fair warning. They do run the fantasy production in the house.
Excellent, excellent. And what is world building to you?
World building to me is the idea of taking an anchor, a world, which is like a framework, for stories to take place in. And like I said, the stories could be for role playing. They could be for animations. They could be for movies, for books, whatever you want them to be for. But it's a framework for stories to take place in, where characters interact with other characters under a common group of rules that are hopefully enjoyable to people. And don't creep them out too much. Well,
Don't creep them out too
depending
much.
on the world, actually. So
Yes. Are you going for a horror setting? The words "too much" might be a very loose, loosely defined.
Usually, I do try and creep people out at points. I do like horror elements in my stories. I don't typically do horror, but I do like horror elements, putting things out of place. I mean, probably a defining thing for me in world building is I like to take concepts that people are somewhat familiar with. Your classic token style elves, halflings, and making them almost appear the same, but then twisting the stereotypes to, one, make it unique in mind, but two, to sort of make people take a step back and go, that's not what I expect from my elf. That's not what, like my halflings for my game world are completely different than what people think of as hobbits or halflings, outside of possibly size, even though they're a little taller.
Mm-hmm. What worlds have you enjoyed?
Right now I'm actually a big fan of the Rick Riordan books. I've been reading those. They're young adult, but I like the way he sort of takes classical mythology and actually brings it contemporary and tries to make it work with Earth. They're very good stories. I think they're done very well. I like his writing style. It leaves a lot to the imagination, which I typically prefer my fantasy where my brain can play in on it. Where I can make the decision of what exactly that really bad, icky thing looks like, and there's some vagaries to lead me into a direction, but then once I get in the direction, I fill in the details because it will mean more to me. It'll make more sense to me because it's the pictures of my brain, not him forcing his pictures into my brain.
Mm.
And of course, all my stuff is awesome.
No, I'm going off script a little because this question brought me to another, actually.
That's fine.
A lot of game design nowadays seems to be going into a collaborative world building. Before you go into your first adventure, you and your players set up the world. How do you feel about that versus traditionally setting up the world for a game?
It depends on the goal of the game, and the players. It's like if I'm telling one of my stories, I typically like using my settings, whether it's my weird Earth setting with turtles, or and this creepy arch villain who won't be mentioned. Or but I think especially it depends on your players. If your players all enjoy that aspect of world building and they want that kind of influence, I think it's a great game. I think going through the exercise of world building and storytelling help make your imagination stronger. And imagination makes me a lot of money in the real world. I would not be really successful. In my programming life. If I didn't have a good imagination to think out problems.
Mm-hmm. And in closing, what are you looking forward to next year? Whether it be your own projects, something that you're working on, or something that's coming out by another designer?
Let's see. I would lie if I do not say Elder Scrolls Online.
Ooh.
That's coming out this year. I'm very interested to see what it's going to look like polished up. I've been a fan of Bethesda since Arena, which is kind of early in the series. Actually, I just got the anthology, which is probably a dangerous thing to world building. But a very neat concept. I also like their work with Fallout, which is wonderful too. Where typically I stick more to traditional fantasy settings, and older days. I do like jumping around. Especially as a player. But I'd have to say Elder Scrolls is coming out. Very much looking forward to that. And from my perspective, I'm coming out with I'm starting a series of short stories this year, which will be given away free on my website, which will in a way help explain the rules of my universe in a neat way. One of the characters, you're probably familiar with, Eric, has an aspect called Eric the Bard, which is kind of funny that you're talking about making bards, a bard game. And it will be him going around getting absolutely no respect because he's a bard and not a wizard or a mage. And he looks young, he doesn't look old. But he's really powerful and, he's really intelligent. He knows the secrets of the universe as much as the other aspects of Eric. So it's sort of like Gandalf who gets no respect. But it's kind of, it'll be fun too because, all the voices that sort of are in our own heads that stop us from doing things because, we don't feel adequate. I get to, spill mine out under this character, Eric, and have some fun doing it.
I love the idea of this sort of Gandalf that gets no respect.
Yeah.
That turns
because Gandalf always gets respect. It's the wizened old mage, and this is a guy who will have all of the skills, but he'll be younger, he'll be attractive, or he'll look younger, he'll be attractive, but people will be like, oh, come on, we're not about to be attacked. Come on, what do you know? You're a bard.
Excellent.
I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Anything else in closing?
I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to this enterprise. It's been years since we've talked about this, and
Mm-hmm.
we're already starting to line up some people who are either writers or who really just love fantasy, who we're going to talk about, and so we'll have some special guests at times as well too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a good excuse to hang out. And with some of our friends who aren't quite as close as they used to be, this will be a little bit easier, And then on the other half too, when we start actually doing storytelling and playing a game as well, and just letting people interact with us, I think on that level will be a lot of fun too. Because I know typically any game with you and me in it gets a little weird because of our acting backgrounds. And you, not me so much, but you sometimes go a little crazy with your characters, where I'm much more rational, sane.
Yeah.
I won't say that again. Maybe I'll believe it, but
yeah, Jeff usually plays the straight guy.
yes.
Oh yes.
And I do want to say I'm very excited. I'm wearing my Pluto Revolve in Peace shirt today.
Oh yes, very nice.
Which makes life a little better, and my camera very fuzzy.
I've got a Punisher.
Very good.
Very good. But yes, join us again. If you have thoughts about the videos, you want to say hi, you want to do stuff, click below, comment if you're on the YouTube.
Comment.
Share, subscribe! For the love of God, subscribe! Yeah, and that's about it, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I hope you had fun, and have a good one. Until next time, where we take over the world.
Yes, you're doomed.